Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Administration and Finance and Recreation and Parks Committee meeting for November 14th, 2023. Our elected officials present, Mayor Kurt Wilson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Michael Palermo, Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember G. Lee Hills, and Councilmember William Morthland. I'm Randy Knighton, the City Administrator, along with David Davidson, City Attorney, and Michelle Miller, the Executive Assistant to the Mayor and Council. The purpose of committee meetings are for city departments to convey information to the Mayor and City Council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda, as well as provide updates of vital information essential to the operation of city government. By ordinance, the committee consists of the Mayor and Council and the City Administrator, and the City Administrator serves as chair of committee meetings. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while the meeting is open to the public, we do not take public comments or questions during the meeting unless specifically authorized by Mayor and Council. Public comments and questions are received on the second and fourth Monday of each month in regular City Council meetings, as well as the fifth Monday on open forum. We do encourage residents to engage our online platforms, and if you have any questions or need information, please reach out to our staff, the talent of the city. I would encourage everyone in the viewing audience as well to visit the city website for meetings, events, and departmental information, and to visit Roswell365.com for a listing of events. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the Administration, Finance, Recreation, and Parks Committee meeting for October 10th, 2023. We have a motion. Motion by Councilmember Morthland, second by Councilmember Hills. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. We will note that under administration, we do not have any action items for this evening. We will also note that under finance, we do not have any action items. Recreation and Parks, item number 2 is listed on the agenda. Consideration for the replacement of the remaining original sections of the Roswell Big Creek Boardwalk. Consideration for Mayor and/or City Administrator to approve a contract with Osprey Management, LLC, in the amount of $1,349,903.86, with a total budget authorization of $1,532,504.81, and budget amendment in the amount of $600,000. Mr. Malone.
Good evening. This item is specific to the Big Creek Boardwalk, and effectively the boardwalk was inaugurated in 2010, and we constructed the boardwalk, which is part of the larger span of Forsyth County into the city of Alpharetta. It's the area that sits in that kind of low-lying floodplain area. And what we've seen over the last 13 years is some rapid deterioration on that wood frame boardwalking that runs along there. Our staff has done probably over the last 3 years is started to put some patchwork together, and we've been able to replace approximately 400 linear feet of that boardwalk. But every time this happens, it requires the department to shut down these sections while we're making the repairs. Part of the bond funds that came into play would allowed us to go in and replace this boardwalk from a holistic perspective. As we got the price point back, we were right about that $1.3 million mark. So what we're suggesting is that with this bond-funded project, we're able to go in right now in what some case would be the off-season. We're able to shut these trail systems down during the winter months when they're not as frequented by our visitors, and it allows us to replace the remaining 1,500 linear feet of this boardwalk in these low-lying areas. So it allows for us to complete the project in one implement and not have to go back in after the fact and potentially shut it down at another interval within the next 12 or 18 months to complete the project. This project has the budget line item of authorization of 1.532 with a budget amendment in the amount of $600,000. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about this project.
Questions for Mr. Malone? Yes, Councilmember Hall.
Thank you. How long will the project take?
So approximately, if we get authorization to move forward on the contract, we anticipate we'll be able to begin the project late January, early February, and our goal would be to have the project complete before April.
Thank you.
Further questions for Mr. Malone? Yes, Councilmember Morthland.
Just to restate the obvious, the section that we're talking about replacing is original, and that's been there for 13 years now. So what we're doing is going back in and doing a complete fix, one-time fix, as compared to patching the lawn. That's the intent of this entire project. This was a very much of a, I wouldn't say number one line item, but very, very high line item when we came out with the bond funding projects. This was always included as, hey, we got to go and do this work. This is something that is high priority. So happy to see this coming along.
Absolutely.
Further questions for Mr. Malone? Councilmember Hills.
Thank you, Mr. Knighton. Is there a little sidestep or Rambo area off the pathway for when that's under construction where people, I know it'll be probably lower traffic during those months, which is great timing.
Sure.
But is there a way that folks that are out and about all seasons that can get around that area?
So primarily where the sections are that we're looking to do, the majority of the replacement would have limited impact into the Rambo area, which would be that other portion of the Big Creek Trail. Fortunately, Rambo's access point typically becomes the Northwood Elementary access point right there by the field. So there is some lower lying trails that run at the bottom of that, but that's not typically the wood timber trails that we're actually talking about replacing from a segment section.
And then for folks that aren't off-roading as much, is there an area to get around the construction area that are just regular bicyclers or runners?
So there will be actually two sections that we're looking to replace. One is a multi-trail or a multi-use trail system that will be in place. That, when that goes down, we will be unable to do any traffic through that area because that's going to have to be shut down until we're able to replace all the segments of the boardwalk.
Okay.
There is another pedestrian area trail system that is on the other side that we will be able to have joint access and usage during the construction of that project.
Okay.
So it's all happening in conjunction, but we're going to start with the multi-use trail section first, which will allow us to cut it down entirely. When we move over to pedestrian, we'll be able to offset that a little bit.
Thank you.
Additional questions for Mr. Malone? All right, seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Morthland to move this item forward. All right, second by Councilmember Hills. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, thank you. That passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Item number 3, under transportation, consideration to accept right-of-way needed to complete the Coleman Road Sidewalk Project in an amount not to exceed $6,000. Mr. Littlefield. Go up to slideshow. It's Mr. Littlefield. Yeah, Mr. Littlefield pulls this up. There we go. All right. Let's go to slideshow in here.
On the top.
There we go. All right. Thank you. All right.
All right, this Consideration to accept the right-of-way needed to complete the Coleman Road sidewalk project not to exceed $6,000. Phase 1 of the sidewalk project nearby was completed earlier this autumn. Phase 2 requires about 568 square feet of right-of-way to be acquired from 2 parcel owners along Coleman Road in the vicinity of Hightower. Once acquired, RDOT crews can prepare to build Phase 2 of the sidewalk project, which is approximately 650 feet long, in either December or early January. Staff recommend acceptance of the right-of-way acquisition for payment not to exceed $6,000 from the 2 parcel owners. We already have agreements. This is the area that we're talking about right here in red. It's from Hightower Road to, and it's a gap that's identified in the sidewalk matrix. And keep in mind, the sidewalk matrix scores for things of, in areas of schools, parks, things of that nature. This one's actually a low scoring one. And so a few years ago, Mayor and Council gave us permission to fund these projects that wouldn't be funded normally. Because it does put these at disadvantages. You see there's several houses along here, and this project would probably never get done if it was following the scoring matrix alone. So we granted permission to complete this sidewalk gap, which actually connects several homeowners to a safe place to cross up here at Coleman and Willio, which there's a signalized crossing there. Otherwise, people are having to cross from Hightower. And you can see there's a curve in the road on Coleman Road, and it's just unsafe, but people don't know where to cross, so they just cross at the earliest convenience, which the sidewalk goes down Hightower and just ends at Coleman, and there is a sidewalk on the other side of Coleman. What this does is puts a crosswalk at Hightower, it allows people to walk down to Willio Road, allows all these houses access to the river. Project will be done in-house. It was designed in-house. It'll be built in-house. Materials will probably be less than $15,000 to build this section of 650 linear feet of sidewalk. So we think it's a good project. They'll have 2 ADA ramps at Hightower, crosswalk, and like I said, we need the permission to accept the right-of-way. We have the agreements in place. Appraisals were accepted, and it was just shy of $6,000.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Littlefield.
And you can see here highlighted in yellow is the area that's needed, and that's basically in the area of the ramps for the right-of-way acceptance. And then this is just the area showing where the sidewalk will go. You can see the curve on Coleman Road, and you can't really see Hightower Road, and it just provides a safe access for these people to cross. Just some more pictures.
Yeah.
Did you need to go back?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So is there any questions?
Councilmember Hall.
Thank you for doing that, and I just wanted to let you know how nice the sidewalk looks that you've already completed further west, I guess, going towards 120.
Yeah, that was just
section.
completed, yeah.
And I think we raised this question before. Is there an opportunity for, as you go further east, to put another crosswalk? I know that curve is to cross Coleman.
If we go further east towards Hightower,
Towards Mimosa, Magnolia.
we'd have to look at it. If there's a sight distance issue and it's not stop controlled, it could be a concern for pedestrian crossings, but we can look at it.
Because I observe, I travel that way frequently, and I see people crossing over there all the time.
And we're hoping that that's what this does, is this gives them a place to walk, but we can definitely look at additional crossings. It basically sight distance out there hampers, and if it's not already a stop controlled area, it's difficult to have people cross safely. But we can look at it for sure. We'll definitely
Thank you.
try.
All right. Councilmember Beeson.
So you had mentioned that this was not originally on the scoring list for sidewalks, but obviously we're trying to close this gap. How did this get on RDOT's radar? How did it become prioritized?
And just quick clarification on that. You said it was on, you said it
It is
was on.
it is on the gap list, the matrix.
It's just very far down
It was
the
a
list.
low-scoring one, and so I wasn't even here when it actually was brought to council. But funding was allowed to do sidewalk gaps such as this that don't have access to schools or parks or things of that nature, which allows these other gaps to have high scores. And so it really would be one of the last ones that ever get done. And if there's a gap that's created that's near a school or a park, they would just keep getting jumped. But there is high density of housing in that area, and so it was brought to council. It was, I think, 3 years ago or so, maybe. So, but it is on the gap list, so it does have a score. It's
just very
it
low
was not
priority.
One of the, top 10, 20, 30 even.
Got it. So it was brought, you said about 3 years ago, to council originally then, and then that's how
Yeah, and
it's
it was
supposed to be.
approved then, and now we're just trying to accept the right-of-way for it, which is just the small pieces that you saw at High Tower.
Okay, but you did say that there's a high density of houses in the area that can justify
Yes,
the,
ma'am.
okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
it provides access to the communities, communities connecting communities, plus access to the river. It's a long walk, but it provides access to the river.
Right, yeah, I guess without taking into consideration, obviously, the people in the neighborhood would be highly impacted. As was mentioned, there's people who use it for walking and recreation.
Yes.
I do have some concerns about moving things up in the priority, which do not connect to schools, do not connect to communities, don't connect to transit, and it's more than a mile away from the river. But understood, thank you.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Hills, second by Councilmember Morthland. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And that does conclude the Administration and Finance and Recreation and Parks Committee meeting, so I'll entertain a motion of adjournment for this committee. Motion by Councilmember Beeson, second by Councilmember Morthland. All in favor? All right, we will take a quick 30-minute pause before we go into our next 30 second, 30 second. It's like, boy, 30 minutes. 30 seconds.
Anything you can do to put Joe on ice, I like it. Thinking.
We're good? All right. Okay. Good evening, and welcome to the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting for November 14th, 2023. Council members present: Mayor Kurt Wilson, Councilmember Christine Hall, Councilmember Michael Palermo, Councilmember Sarah Beeson, Councilmember G. Lee Hills, and Councilmember William Morthland. I'm Randy Knighton, the City Administrator, joined by David Davidson, City Attorney, and Michelle Miller, Executive Assistant to the Mayor and Council. The purpose of committee meetings are for city departments to convey information to the Mayor and City Council and discuss initiatives listed on the published agenda, as well as provide updates of vital information essential to the operation of city government. By ordinance, the committee consists of the Mayor and Council, as well as City Administrator, and the City Administrator serves as chair of the committee meetings. This is a public meeting, but not a public hearing. Therefore, while members of the public are certainly welcome, public comments or questions are not taken during committee meetings unless specifically authorized by Mayor and Council. Public comments or questions are received on the second and fourth Monday of each month in City Council meetings held at 7:00 p.m. in City Council chambers, as well as the fifth Monday in open forum. We certainly encourage our residents to engage our online platforms, and if you have any questions or need departmental information, please reach out to the staff talent of the city, and we'll be glad to provide that information to you. We also ask that you access our city website and web service portal to report any issues or concerns, and visit Roswell365.com for a calendar of events. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting of October 10, 2023. Motion by Councilmember Beeson to accept those minutes, second by Councilmember Hills. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. All right, under Public Safety Fire, item number 2, approval of a resolution to apply and accept a 2023 Assistant to Firefighters grant for up to $800,000 for the replacement of fire department portable radios and accessories. I will note that this is an item to apply and accept if you are so inclined, which means that if this goes forward and is ultimately approved and is provided for grant review and is approved in accordance with the provisions approved by Mayor and Council, that it would not come back to you for an acceptance at a later date. You are ultimately moving this item forward, if you're so inclined, to apply and accept. Chief Panino.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As mentioned, this is for portable radio replacement. The department has about 70 portable radios that are about 10 years old, and after January 1st, they'll no longer be supported by the manufacturer. Doesn't mean they won't work. It means they're not going to make parts for them anymore or support their repair. The grant does have a 10% city match. And I'll talk a little bit about the timeline. Historically, for the AFG grant, what we see is the notice of funding opportunity to be released around the first of the year. It's open for 30 days. You have 30 days to apply. And then we usually see the first awards taking place in June. So that's kind of the timeline that we've seen historically. A couple benefits of the new radios or the replacement radios, the new technology. One is they can be programmed over the air. So wherever there's a Wi-Fi signal, you can push updates to them. We just reprogrammed ours a few months ago, and you physically have to touch every portable radio, all 70. It takes several days. You have to get all of the fire trucks to one location to have that done where the vendor sets up. Another benefit of the new technology, the new portable radios have LTE capability. And that's important because in a lot of our bigger buildings in the city, the 800 megahertz can't transmit out. So what's required by fire code is that the occupant or the owner of the building has to install a BDA, a bidirectional amplifier, which is a repeater that actually has a FCC license that they pay for. These can cost anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 and up to make sure that responders have radio service inside the building. If we have radios that have cell capability, if you can't get out on the 800 megahertz, it will switch to LTE and it will transmit out. If the building, we still can't transmit out, installing those cell repeaters are much cheaper and much more cost effective than the bidirectional amplifiers that are required now. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for Chief Panino? Comments? Any questions regarding this matter? All right. Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion. Motion, Councilmember Beeson. Second, Councilmember Hills. Any further discussion? All right. Seeing none. All in favor? Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. And Chief Wolf, thank you very much for joining us. All right. Item number 3 under Public Safety Police. Consideration of a budget amendment for executive level training programs.
All right.
Chief.
Good
Conroy.
evening, Mayor and City Council. This item is a consideration of a budget amendment amount of $25,000 each year to fund ongoing leadership programs. These funds are requested to come from the Automated Speed Zone Enforcement Program. that are earmarked specifically for police initiatives use only under Georgia law. This program is entirely violator funded. These leadership programs, which I have attended personally, almost all of them myself, I feel are beneficial to the department, beneficial to the city, and is an integral part of our succession planning at the police department.
All right, thank you, Chief Conroy. Questions or comments for Chief Conroy? No questions or comments, all right. We'll entertain a motion. Motion by Councilmember Beeson, second by Councilmember Hills. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. There is one item, that is the last item on the published agenda. There is one item I wanted to bring forward to this committee. Due to supply chain issues and the current market conditions as it relates to vehicles, specifically the acquisition of police vehicles, we've been in a difficult and challenging situation of acquiring police vehicles. We do have an opportunity right now, but given the time-sensitive nature of the item, I wanted to request or ask of this body that we put the item on the Friday Planning and Strategy agenda for review and approval. Obviously, we'll provide you with the necessary information prior to the Friday meeting, but because of the difficulty and challenge that we've had, we do have an opportunity now to potentially secure police vehicles. This is a budgeted item already. However, we would need your review and approval due to the fact that this would be an alternative lease option that we would like to be able to explain in full detail, have you review, and consider for Friday. So I'll ask if that is acceptable. Mayor Wilson?
Mr. Chairman, do you want any discussion on the matter now, or you just want to save the discussion till Friday? Is that what you're requesting?
Chief Conroy was looking around.
The fleet department's not here, but we could give the lowdown.
We could give a brief summation here. That'll be perfectly fine, if that's good with the body. Yes. Sure. Go ahead, Chief.
So as we all know, there's been supply chain issues with vehicles across this country for the past couple of years. We've been struggling to get our orders of police vehicles that we've ordered from our current vendor. This year's order has been canceled as they could not obtain the vehicles that we ordered for this year. The police department has identified 25 Chevy Tahoe police vehicles at a dealership in Georgia, but it would require us to change from our current vendor to get the lease purchase option. I believe this is from GMA, to allow us to fund those vehicles and lease purchase them from this dealer, which is under state contract.
Yes, Mayor Wilson, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Chief. Is there going to be any further discussion in relation to how this matter relates to a larger matter? Was that your intent, Mr. Chairman?
My intent was in a subsequent session to have the larger conversation, yes.
So just for everybody's review, Chief, would you just kind of go through what you just said again? So everybody just edify with clarity what the current circumstance is and what you as the city are having to do.
Our current vendor,
requesting to do.
correct. Our current vendor is unable to deliver the vehicles that we ordered under our current contract. We've identified an alternate source to obtain the vehicles, and in doing so, we also had to identify an alternate funding source to do the lease purchase of the vehicle. We've identified the alternative lease funding source and the alternative dealership that has access. This dealership ordered 25 extra Chevy Tahoes. That there's a line of people trying to purchase those today, and he's holding them for pending approval from this mayor and city council to allow us to reserve those vehicles. They're VINs, they've not been constructed yet, but there are vehicle identification numbers attached to these. So as soon as they're constructed, they would be delivered to us.
And Chief, just to kind of reiterate, Mr. Chairman, I believe you're going to touch on this subject as well. This is related to, so I hope everyone heard that. So right now, you as the police chief and the city, through its procurement agency and our current policies, you're unable to take this action without bringing it to committee and then without getting a subsequent vote from the council in formal session to move forward on this. Just want to make sure everybody understands the current restrictions of how we operate.
That's absolutely correct.
Yes, and we did not, we thought it would be the responsible thing to bring this item forward now, given the sensitivity of timing with vehicles and also, of course, seeking to support our public safety personnel, and given the fact that it's an already budgeted item, so we wanted to.
And Chief, just for fun, you didn't actually mention cost or price in relation to the potential trying to, with this current dealer versus your existing supplier. You didn't mention that. It might be worth just edifying again that information to everybody.
So I did not, because the finance cost changes based on the number of vehicles. So we have located 25 vehicles. That was not the total of our order. Our order was much higher than that, but in scouring the marketplace, that's the only number of vehicles we can find available in the United States at this time. The cost is in the agenda item, which I did not bring with me this evening, so I don't have the agenda item. I can't speak specifically to the cost.
But I recall when you brought this matter up, I believe you said the cost was ironically
Less.
less.
Less per vehicle.
Yes,
Yes.
and yet you're still restricted based upon, and our purchasing and our city staff and talent are unable to move forward on this based upon our current policies.
Correct, great point.
So it's a matter that we'll continue to seek to work through and hopefully, I'm confident that we'll have the apparatus in place to be more nimble as an organization, to be able to move quickly on items that are of significant importance, as well as, especially with respect to public safety. So those are the things that we're trying to address through the Reinvent Roswell initiative, which is working very well throughout the city right now. But yes, this item we needed to, and we're requesting to move forward. Councilmember Hills, I think I saw first.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. So given that we already have an advertised meeting on Friday.
Correct.
That we'll all be there, it sounds like we'll be able to talk about that, discuss, and then make a vote so that we can move on that if we so choose or so vote.
That is correct. That's what we're
Thank you, sir.
requesting. Yes, Councilmember Hall.
That was my question, if there's any way we can expedite it so that we're not at risk of losing this opportunity, if we need a special called meeting before Friday?
I think we should be okay Friday, Chief, as you.
From our understanding and speaking with the dealership, we can hold them off until Friday. Yes.
Councilmember Beeson.
I just wanted to request that for Friday's meeting, that it would be placed as the first item in the event the public wanted to participate, watch. Typically, it's usually at the beginning of those meetings. And then also, I will be probably leaving the meeting after that item to go to the National League of Cities Conference. So because of that, just wanted to make sure that this is the first item if we're going to having a voting item that day.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's fine. I think that would be appropriate if that's good with the council. So, any further questions for Chief Conroy? Just asking for the ability to move forward and place this item on the agenda for Friday.
Do you need a thumbs up?
Sure, yes. I would like to, yes.
To move it to Friday.
Motion by Councilmember Hall, second by Councilmember Hills. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, thank you very much. We appreciate that. All right, that does conclude the Public Safety and Public Works Committee meeting for November 14th, 2023. We'll entertain a motion of adjournment. Motion by Councilmember Beeson, second by Councilmember Morthland. All in favor? All right, passes unanimously. Thank you very much.